I'm so excited to start a science investigation with you today. I'm Mr. Brady.
I'm Mrs. Armstrong.
And today we're going to teach you a little bit about the scientific method. But before I begin, I need one more thing. You have to have a science jacket in order to do science. Okay, all right, so now that we're ready, let's take a look at the scientific method. Me and Mrs. Armstrong yesterday, we were sitting at lunch and we both had a glass of soda and we started thinking about the scientific process and the scientific method. So we kind of came up with a question that we would like to solve with you today. So we grabbed some things that we had laying around the classroom. We have gummy bears, soda, vinegar, and I just started to think, some of the food that we eat, like a gummy bear, I always imagine how in the world does our body digest this? So it got us thinking. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at a question that we came up with. So if you look up here under our gummy bear investigation, our question today, Mrs. Armstrong, is what?
What solution will make the gummy bear grow the most?
So as you can see, we have quite a few materials that we have pulled out, and we're going to kind of run some tests, and we're going to find out what we think is going to happen. So before we jump into that, I think we should brainstorm maybe the hypothesis or what we think could happen.
I think I have an idea.
What's your idea?
I think that the gummy bear will increase its size most in soda because soda has a lot of bubbles, and I feel like the bubbles will just like make it grow and make it bigger.
That's a really good thought. I didn't think that way. I really like it. So far, with our investigation, we've started with asking a question. Then we formed a hypothesis, which you said that you think that soda is really going to make the most impact or difference on that gummy bear. So let's think of a plan or how we could figure out whether your idea is right or not.
Okay.
All right, so let's take a look a little bit further on our chart here. So our hypothesis, which Mrs. Armstrong shared with us, was we think that the soda will make the gummy bear grow the most because it has bubbles and other liquids that we're testing here today do not. So let's take a look. The materials that we're going to use, we have cups, gummy bears, water, lemon juice, soda, vinegar, labels, ruler. So some of those materials are extremely important, or otherwise the experiment wouldn't work. All right, let's take a look. So the one thing that we're keeping the same, which as you know from your science reading, the control is the thing that stays the same. It is constant. And what we have for that is we have green gummy bears today. I hope you guys like them. I don't know if I'd eat them when we're done the experiment though. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to add one gummy bear to each one of our containers so we can find out what happens. I'll let you share the rest.
Okay, so the variable in our experiment is the solution that we're using because vary means to change. So variable means the thing that's changing. In each cup, we're putting a different solution. So that's going to be what's different. And our procedure is going to go like this. We're going to label the 4 cups with solution titles, which we've already done. So here are the cups, and on the cup it says what solution is going to go inside of it. We're going to fill each cup equally with each solution. We're going to measure the gummy bear before we pour in the solution and record on our data collection sheet how big the gummy bear is before it hits the solution. And then we are going to place the gummy bear in each, and then we're going to let it sit overnight. We're going to measure the gummy bears tomorrow, and then we're going to record the data. And the data is going to show us which solution made the gummy bear increase its size the most.
All right, so why don't you measure the gummy bear while I move forward?
Okay. Let me get a ruler.
What we're going to do is we're going to start adding that solution. Now, Mrs. Armstrong told me something before we got started. She said we can use different solution, but it has to be the same amount. Center drawer in the desk. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add water. And Mrs. Armstrong was nice enough to fill this beaker with 100 milliliters of water. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to add that to our water container. Let me pass one of these over to our friend Mrs. Armstrong so she can check to see what that length is. I'm going to work on the lemon juice.
This is 2 centimeters.
All right. and we're going to add 100 milliliters of lemon juice to this green gummy bear. And I'm going to let Mrs. Armstrong do the last 2 solutions, and that will wrap up our investigation for today. So if I think about the scientific method, I asked a question, I formulated a hypothesis, I created a plan or a procedure, I conducted my experiment, which we're doing now. We record our data in the chart behind us, and the last step will be state our conclusion, which we won't be able to do until tomorrow. So I'm going to let you finish up doing those last 2.
Okay. All right, so we have vinegar, and before I do this, I just want to point out, so that gummy bear, every gummy bear was the same exact size. Every gummy bear is 2 centimeters. So the length before is going to be the same because they're all exactly the same. 100 milliliters of each solution, so the amount of solution is the same. So that's 100 of vinegar. Soda. Hopefully I don't want to shut this ahead. Sorry. So tricky. See those bubbles? That's what I think is going to make that gummy bear grow. All right, I can't wait to see what happens tomorrow. All right, guys, so it is day 2 of our gummy bear investigation, and we are about to see the results of what happened overnight. Before we start that, we're going to go over everything we've done so far. So everything we did yesterday for the investigation. So the number one thing that we did and what we're going over and what we're doing with this investigation is we're practicing the scientific method. So we are using the scientific method. We asked a question. We formed a hypothesis. We wrote down our materials, decided a control and variable, wrote a procedure, and today we're going to draw a conclusion. All along the way, we were recording our data. So the question that we asked yesterday was, what solution will make the gummy bear grow the most or increase its size the most? Our hypothesis was, we think that soda would make the gummy bear grow the most because it has bubbles and the others don't. The materials we needed for this were cups, gummy bears, water, lemon juice, soda, vinegar, labels, and a ruler. Our control, the thing that was staying the same the whole time, was that we were using a regular green gummy bear for each cup. The thing that was changing, the variable, was the solution. So in each cup, we had something different: water, lemon juice, vinegar, and soda. The procedure was we labeled 4 cups with the solution titles. We filled the cups equally. We made sure that that was also a control part. And we measured the gummy bears and recorded that on that chart over there with our data collection. We put 1 gummy bear in each cup. We let it sit overnight. Today we're going to measure the gummy bears, see what their new sizes are, and then we're going to record that data. So let's take a look.
So as you can see, each of the gummy bears absorbed some of the liquid. So Mrs. Armstrong is going to just grab her ruler and she's going to take a look to see how these gummy bears have changed. And I will record that data onto our chart, which was kind of like a table that we talked about in math earlier this week.
Wow, nice connection, Mr. Brady. So in science, it's really important that we're precise. Just like we were precise when we measured the gummy bear in the first place, we're going to be precise to decide. We're not just going to look and say, oh, that one looks bigger, that must be it. We're going to make sure we're measuring because that's what good scientists do. So for the water, I'm using the centimeter side of the ruler, just like I did yesterday, making sure I'm using the same unit. The water, it looks like the gummy bear increased in size with the water, and its new length is 4 centimeters.
Wow, that's a pretty good increase.
That's a 2 centimeter jump. Okay, now let's look at the lemon juice. lemon juice, the gummy bear is 2.5 centimeters.
So I'm going to represent that as a decimal.
A decimal.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Great idea. 2 and 5/10 centimeters or 2.5 centimeters. Perfect. Okay. And now let's look at the vinegar. In the vinegar, the gummy bear is 3 centimeters.
Last but not least.
Let's switch those.
Oh. It's all right. Mr. Brady made a mistake. You keep measuring.
Mistakes are part of the whole process. We make a mistake and we look and see what we did and we fix it. That's how we learn. All right, so vinegar was 3 centimeters.
All right, perfect.
Fabulous. And soda, this was the one that I thought would make the gummy bear grow the most. Let's see. Oh, wow. In the soda, it's only 3 centimeters.
All right, so let's take a look at our findings real quick. And we recorded these into our table, which is really great idea to organize information, especially like this. So we have our length before, and we recorded, which was the same, that was our control, is that we were going to use a gummy bear of the same size and the same color. Then what we did is we measured our length after they were soaked in their solution or the liquid for 1 day. And as you can see, if I'm looking at this, some shared the same results. Some share that the lemon juice shows that it did not grow very much, but the water was the one that really stood out and absorbed the most into that gummy bear.
Okay, so now that we have our results recorded in our data collection chart, we can see very clearly which solution made the gummy bear grow the most, and it was the water. So in the water, the gummy bear went from 2 centimeters to 4 centimeters, and that's a 2 centimeter jump, bigger than any of the jumps with the other solutions. So let's just check to see what we have left to do as part of the scientific method. So we asked a question, we formed a hypothesis, we listed a procedure, we recorded our data, and the very last step is to draw a conclusion. So when we draw a conclusion, we're going to go back to our question and write down the answer to our question. Our question was, what solution will make the gummy bear grow the most? We learned that water makes the gummy bear increase its size the most. So I'm going to write that here as my conclusion. All right, so let's just go back and check everything we did for the scientific method, because that's what we were practicing with this investigation. We asked a question, we formed a hypothesis, we planned a procedure, we conducted an experiment, we recorded data, and we stated a conclusion.
Great job, guys.